Now, I like to give every movie a chance. I think every movie deserves a chance. A lot of hard work goes into creating a film, the script writing process, the actors, the directors, the entire crew, and of course, the editing process, which is a nightmare often. It's not an easy feat, so I commend anyone who tries to make a film. That being said, some films shouldn't be made. I think we can all agree on that. These are some of the movies that I wish I could go back in time and not watch. You may not agree with me. That's fine. I'm sure you'll let me know. This is my opinion. We won't always agree on everything. Also, I will try not to spoil these movies for you if you haven't seen them, so I'll be pretty generic when describing them. First up, we have Madame Web, because of course, this is the movie on the list that I think we can all agree on. Madame Web, what a train wreck of a film. I had heard whisperings going on that it was a terrible film, and judging by the press junkets, the actors seemed to agree, particularly Dakota Johnson, who seemingly wished she was anywhere else but doing press for this film. Making a superhero film isn't easy, of course, but you can often rely on the fact that they will be fun and action-packed. Sometimes that's all you need. However, this film lacked both of those key ingredients. It was bizarre. Right from the get-go, you realize Dakota is in this for the paycheck, which, fair enough. Reading the script, it would be the only reason I would also do this movie, for the money. The writing is atrocious, and one character is entirely ADR, which was so bizarre to me. It feels so out of place, and the accent doesn't even know what it's trying to be. Sydney Sweeney is the most monotone I've ever heard her. It's so far away from her performance in Euphoria, that's for sure. Not to mention, throughout the movie, Dakota just keeps abandoning these girls that she's supposed to be protecting, and at one point, she just leaves them in the woods alone. Recipe for disaster. Yet she doesn't seem to worry, even though they do keep getting in harm's way. No stress. The climax of the movie is a train wreck as well, and we barely even get a fight scene. Due to Dakota's powers, which also make no sense to me, she just foresees what will happen, and then moves at super speed, and then bam, it's over. Then suddenly she falls into the water and is somehow blind and paralyzed. Amazing. Cinema. Next up, we have Miller's Girl. This movie is still fresh in my mind because I just watched it and I recently reviewed it on this channel. So if you missed that, make sure and go click that video for my full review and breakdown of the film, because you might be lost as I'm explaining it. The film, as a whole, just lacked substance. It set up so many things with no payoff at all. The trailer was incredibly misleading, making it seem as though the affair would take more center stage in the film. However, the affair was relatively non-existent. Not to mention, it is never clear to the audience what is real and what isn't, as the majority of the film is followed through the eyes of Jenna Ortega, who is an unreliable protagonist. All the characters are unlikable, aside from the friend Winnie. Like the last movie I mentioned, the climax falls flat, with the standoff between the two leads just ending with them looking at each other, and then Jenna just walks away. And then bam, credits roll. There is a significant shift between the power dynamics of the two leads, which is obviously Jenna Ortega as a student and Martin Freeman as her teacher. However, by that point, we just don't care anymore, and we want the film to end. And then when it does, I'm applauding that it's over, and then I'm thinking, why did I just waste my time watching that? Mean Girls the Musical. Now, I went into this movie with already low expectations, and yet somehow those expectations were still too high. Shocking. Now, I should preface and say that, like everyone else in the world, I absolutely love the original Mean Girls. It's a near-perfect movie with a perfect cast. I heard about the Mean Girls musical on Broadway, yet somehow I went this long without ever hearing a song, or even knowing what it was about, or even knowing if it was different than the movie. So when the movie got announced, I was hesitant, of course, but I see Renee Rapp and I click, like everyone should. It's as simple as that. However, I wish this was a click, that I had been at home and could turn it off at any moment, because I would have turned it off after the first 10 minutes. Sadly, I saw this opening night at the movie theatre, which is no longer the most exciting experience, considering that opening night of movies is just a half-empty movie theatre now, which is really sad. As a cinema lover, that really upsets me. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. Right off the bat, I realized this movie had cast people who clearly had no musical theatre background, aside from the girl who played Moana and Renee Rapp. I'm not sure about the others, but the lead girl, she perfected singing in the most boring tone possible. Someone compared her to Regina Spektor, and I feel that in a big way. I think it was the vocal coach teacher on YouTube, Hannah Bales, and she hit the nail on the head with that one. It was soulless in every single way. Not to say that Regina Spektor is soulless, but when it comes to musical theatre, you need some energy. There was none of that. The movie was often at times one for one of the original, and then would randomly just break out into song. And it was so abrupt and so disjointed. The songs weren't bad, but it was the people singing them. Also, being of the original Mean Girls era, I realized this movie plot no longer packs a punch the older you get, unless you're returning to the original. I'm no longer fearful of these high school kids. But I also realized what made Mean Girls so good was Rachel McAdams was so terrifying as Regina George. She was genuinely frightening, and I was intimidated by her. Renee Rapp sadly missed the mark. She didn't intimidate me, and her outfits were bizarre. It was overly Gen Z, and I think this movie was not for my generation. I wish I'd known that going into it, but still doesn't excuse the lackluster singing. And next up, this is the one that will trigger you all, and I apologize. Just remember, an opinion is an opinion, and we're all not going to share the same opinion. And that's okay. We're all okay with that. The Revenant. Now, I know this is a revered movie, and Leo ultimately won his Oscar for this, but I should preface and say that was a cop-out win. They just wanted to give him an award. We all know he should have won for The Wolf of Wall Street, plain and simple. Anyway, this was a movie that while I was watching in the movie theater, I was wishing I was anywhere else. I was disassociating in a big way. I was probably thinking about my current obsession, daydreaming, just thinking of a different life where I wasn't in that movie theater watching that movie. The film was just boring. That was the problem. Not to mention, you just couldn't understand what was going on because Tom Hardy was so incoherent, and he was mumbling for the duration of the film, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. So I kept missing major key plot moments because of this. If he's gonna mumble like that, at least include subtitles. Maybe then I could enjoy it a bit better because I'd know what the hell was going on. I actually couldn't even tell you what this movie was about. That's the problem. I actually don't know what happened. They're just walking in the woods for a lot of this film. All I remember is Leo getting attacked by a bear, and to be honest, I think that's all anyone remembers, because it's all anyone references when it comes to this movie. Now, like I said, no offense to these films. Everyone put a lot of time, heart, and soul into these movies, and I know making a movie is probably a very tiring experience. It also costs a lot of money. So I commend all those that did it and made those films. Unfortunately, these are the films that, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I wish I could go back and not watch. Because my biggest pet peeve is having my time wasted. And unfortunately, these ones all made me feel like I had my time wasted. Particularly Mean Girls the musical. When people were laughing, I was like, what were you laughing at? Was there a joke? Because I'm not finding any of this funny. And then I realized it was just references that I wasn't getting because this movie was not made for me. Anyway, I understand if you guys all love these movies, that's absolutely fair. You can love these films. I'm just saying they didn't resonate with me. I didn't enjoy them. I may like films that you hate. That's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinion. Make sure to leave me your reviews of these movies below if you liked them. If you also didn't enjoy them, I'll be reading all your comments, and I will see you in the next video.